lies at the root of the scarcity. Then there is two scarcity finds an expression in two basic facts of economic life: unlimited wants and scarce resources of means. Unlimited wants. What do you mean by unlimited wants? We know that human wants are unlimited and keep on increasing. Different wants differ in their intensity. Subject to the availability of resources, higher order wants need to satisfy. First, if the resources are still available, these may be used to satisfy lower order wants. Then scarce resources. We know that when human wants are unlimited, but the resources is scarce in nature. Availability of resources are limited in nature because in relation to our requirements. So that scarce and also scarce means of alternative uses. The resources therefore need be allocated among different uses in a systematic, coordinated manner. Every individual and economy has to devise a mechanism for this. So, different societies try to solve these issues in different ways. And in the process, each society creates a setup called an economy. So that the economic system is a comprehensive one. It covers the entire set of institutions and arrangements. The human society has evolved several sets of such institutions arrangement. Each in turn as economic system, and they have their own distinguishing features and nomenclatures. So that here the means and wants can be combined in alternative ways. The problem of scarcity exists in every society. Hence, it has to address itself to two issues: increasing the availability of means of satisfaction and laying down the priorities of the wants to be satisfied, which is important wants that can be satisfied earlier and another can be postponed because of the scarcity of resources. Then what do you mean production? In economic production implies the transformation of various inputs into output, thereby increasing the want satisfying capacity of the inputs. The process of production transforms the things occurring in nature into goods and services which are capable of satisfying human wants. The things which are so transformed are called inputs, while output is nothing but the transformed form of inputs. And a particular transformation is production if the one satisfying capacity of the output is more than that of the inputs used. So that production is nothing but the creation of utility. And another thing, in economics there is many problems. Among them, there is some central problems visualized. Then these central problems are what to produce. First problem is what to produce. When some goods are not produced, some wants of the society remain unsatisfied. The decisions regarding the wants to be satisfied and the goods and services to be produced are interrelated and are taken in a coordinated manner. This is called allocative of production resources. And then the decision is going to the producer and what these things are produced. Then how to produce? This is a problem which covers the details of the allocation of productive resources in the production of various goods and services. The exact proportion of factor inputs used in production of goods need to be decided irrespective of the size and nature of the economy. This is called the technique of production of that item. Then there is two techniques present. One is labor-intensive technique and another is capital-intensive technique in the production sector. labor-intensive technique where labor are more used compared to capital. And in case of the capital-intensive technique, capital is more used in compared to labor. When an individual producer is to decide about the technique of production any particular product, he considers the prices and productivities of alternative inputs such as such as labor and capital. He tries to use those inputs in such a combination which costs him the least and will yield him the maximum output. His decision is based on the consideration of the two factors. One is the relative price of labor and capital, another is the relative efficiency of the two inputs. Then another problem is for whom to produce. A society comprises a large number of individuals and households. All the output of consumption goods and services is ultimately meant for their use. Therefore, all goods and services produced are to be distributed amongst the individuals and households. The share of each individual and household base has to be determined and also the quantities of specific goods and services which comprise that share. So then what the households and families are depend on this problem. Then in a market economy, productive resources are privately owned. They are sold, bought, and hired like any other goods or services. The price of a productive resource is determined by the market forces of demand and supply. Whenever it is to be employed by a producer, he has to pay its market price to its owner. The income of each individual under these conditions is determined by the amounts of different productive resources owned and supplied by him to the market and the respective prices. Then the elements of production are productive resources are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Like that, their prices are also distributed among like this way. Then there is in economics there is two words we say that private goods and public goods. What do you mean by private goods? There are certain goods whose availability can be restricted to selected individuals only. These are private goods. That means in the private goods there is a law principle used that is principle of exclusion. That means those persons who cannot pay for it or who are not ready to pay are not allowed to use it. The use of the goods is thus divisible between different persons. Then any goods which can be priced and whose use can be restricted to selected person is termed as private goods. Then public goods. When it is possible to restrict the availability of product to selected individuals, they are termed as public goods or social goods. Such goods cannot be so priced as to deprive some persons for using it. And these goods are indivisible in nature. Defense services is a typical example of public service. Then, merit goods. What is merit goods? Those goods whose consumption is considered highly desirable for the members of the society are termed as merit goods. The important feature of merit good is that their consumption benefits both the user and non-users. Health and education is the example of merit goods because health and education are called a merit goods. It is desirable that every member of the society gets education. Consumption of merit goods benefits the society as a whole and raises the level of its efficiency and well-being. Therefore, every society has to decide the extent it can and should produce and consume merit goods. Then, production possibility curve, a new term that is PPC or production possibility curve. The economy has to has to choose between alternative combination of various goods and services. And when this problem can be easily explained in a diagram. At, in the page number 14, we see that diagram where production possibility or a product transformation curve is illustrated. Here, the PPC or production possibility curve can be based on the some assumption. First, the country has to choose between alternative combination of only two goods. All productive resources of the country are taken as given, and state of technology is also given. All productive resources of the economy are fully employed. The productive resources are suitable for the production of both goods. Fifth, no factor of production is considered to be specific in the production of one good alone. And sixth, we consider the productive efficiency of the productive resources on the physical terms. And in this diagram, the diagram is explained with the schedule. In this schedule, you can see when LED, there is two examples,
Excuse me, madam.
and monitor.
Excuse me, madam. Madam, page number 40 from book.
Yes.
Page number.
114.
Okay, thank you.
Where in this schedule, you can see that there is two goods produced, that is LED and computer monitor. And in this combination, in first serial number 1, in combination, only LED goods, LED is produced and computer monitor is 0. And like that, in the second combination point, there is 25 and 14, means LED 25, which can give given up 5 units of the LED, and here raise 14 of monitors. Like that, when we see that when the LED production is decreasing and monitor production is increasing, computer monitor production increasing, and this can be described loss of M of each additional L produced. In this diagram also, this situation, this schedule can be explained. In this diagram, you can easily understand through a diagram that when the production of LED is 30, that time the computer monitor is 0. And like that, when the LED is decreasing, here in O-axis, computer monitor's production is increasing. Beyond any point, beyond the PPC, which is in its non-shaded area of the diagram, shows a combination of L and M, which the economy cannot produce. Point like that point D cannot be produced. D represents a combination of 30M and 20L. When 30M is produced, no resources are left for the production of L. On the other hand, if 20L are produced, then the quantity of M has to be reduced to 20. So that because of the scarcity of resources, then the production of depend on this scarcity of resources, so that the production is going on this PPC curve only. Then there is a typical PPC has two characteristics. First, the PPC curve is downward sloping from left to right, and it is concave to the second is it is concave to the origin. Downward sloping means it implies that in order to produce more units of one good, then some units of the other good must be sacrificed. And concave means a concave downward sloping curve has an increasing slope. This slope is the same as MRT, marginal rate of technology. So concavity implies increasing MRT and assumption on which the PP curve is based. Can PP curve be a straight line? Yes. If you assume that MRT is constant, then PP curve is straight line and it is sloping downward to the right as like demand curve and state it is. Does production take place only on the PP curve? Yes. If the given resources are fully and efficiently utilized, then the production takes place only in the PP curve. And another case also no, it is also not possible. If the resources are underutilized, utilized and or inefficiently utilized, then the PP curve, then the production does not take place on the PP curve. So that in this case, both cases as shown. We know that also the PP curve also shift. If resources are increased, then the PP curve shift to the upward or right side. And when if resources are decreases, then the PP curve is shift to the backward. Then there is methodology which are two laws which can explain these things of the economic laws, that is inductive and deductive reasons. Economists have followed two traditions in formulative economic laws. According to one tradition, the causes or conditions or assumptions are specific are different economic units are expected to behave in a rational manner. The, the assumptions themselves may be totally unrealistic or may be very close to reality, but they are stated in precise manner. In any case, this type of reasoning is called deductive reasoning. This means in deductive reasoning, the generalization or law is stated above the individual activities are expected to conform to it. For example, the law of demand, which states that other things being equal, the quantity of a product demanded varies inversely with its price. That means when price is increases, demand is falls, and when price is falls, demand is rises. But when this is a in deductive reasoning, we find that it is close to the reality, but they are precise, but they are stated in a precise manner, like that. And against the deductive reasoning, there is inductive reasoning also stated. In this, your inductive methods, empirical information is collected and generalization regarding the behavior of economic units under different conditions are worked out. This is called the method of inductive reasoning. For example, Engel's law is an example of inductive reasoning. It describes Engel concluded that as the income of a family increases, the production of its expenditure on necessity decreases, while that on comforts and luxuries goes up. Most business persons prefer this line approach because of this thought. Angel's thought can be affect some business also. Then equilibrium. The concept of equilibrium is an important for the microeconomy or economists. It is very frequently used and one should become familiar with it. Equilibrium means a state of rest, the attainment of a position from which there is no incentive or nor opportunity to move. A consumer is in equilibrium when his expenditure on different goods and services will maximum satisfaction. In the equilibrium situation, the consumer get maximum satisfaction. As a business firm got the maximize its profits, and the research owners also the research owners in the equilibrium point, he owns are placed in their highest paying employments and the income of a resource owners are maximized. And in this level, income where aggregate demand equals aggregate supply. The level of income depends in the economic situation. Sorry, equilibrium in the economy means the aggregate demand and aggregate supply are equal. Equilibrium can be analyzed in the two forms also. One is partial and another is general. In partial equilibrium analysis, we concentrate on a single market in isolation from the rest of the economy. Then general means in general economic equilibrium analysis, we analyze simultaneous all the markets in the economy on the basic premise that everything depends on everything else. Then another term is positive and normative. Each economy is a positive science or normative science. Then positive economics is concerned with the only formulating economic laws and describing in reality. The economic laws may be derived from theoretical assumptions or from recorded facts. They do not pass any judgment as to whether the findings of economic analysis are desirable or need modification. So, positive economics is only formulating economic laws and describing reality. But in case of normative economics, realize the fact that an economy is never perfect. The outcome of its working can always be improved upon. It is quite normal to find an economy faced with any problems requiring immediate attention. So, then microeconomics and macroeconomics. Micro. The macro and micro, two words coming from, they derived from the Greek word, micros and macros. Micros means small, macros means large. Microeconomics deals with the behavior of individual elements in an economy, such as determination of the price of a single product or the behavior of a single consumer or business firm. Then, whereas macroeconomic covers the great aggregates and averages of the economic system rather than individual. In the macroeconomics, it can describe national income, employment, level of prices in general, intersectional flows of goods and services, total saving, total investment, and other and like the other things. Then another term is stocks and flow. Stock. A stock variable is the one which can be measured only with reference to a point of time and not over a period of time. It can be described only a point of time. Whereas flow variable is the one which can be measured only with reference to a period of time, not a point of time. So, flow is a long-term measurement, whereas stock is to the described from it to the point of time. But in economics, both concept is very important. A flow concept can assume some value only with the passage of time, not and in that stock and flow variables are often used together in economic analysis. Then statics and dynamics. Static framework or dynamic settings. Static and dynamic modes of analysis can be differentiated in more than one way. According to one definition, in a static model, the variables are not dated. The demand supply model of market behavior is a static model. The model that demand depends on one price, supply depends on one price. With an equilibrium condition, that demand must equal supply. Time does not enter into the picture at all, and the variables are all undated. So that the demand supply model is restructured as follows. Then the model would become dynamic according to this prediction. According to some economists, even if the variables are dated, the model does not become dynamic. A dynamic model, according to this definition, would be one where the variables must be dated and a time lag must exist in their relationship. So, static and dynamics are two concepts or two words which is mostly used in the economics. Then we come to another unit, that is demand and supply units. What is demand? We know that human wants are unlimited, and the demand, there is three. The demand is depend on the three things: desire, want. So first we explain what is desire. Desire is just a wish on the part of the consumer to possess a commodity. If the desire to possess a commodity is backed by the purchasing power and the consumer is also willing to buy that commodity, it becomes want. Then the demand is, on the other hand, is the wish of the consumer to get definite quantity of a commodity at a given price in the market and have sufficient and also have sufficient purchasing power, and he he has he has ability to pay, and he has also willingness to pay it. So demand is depend on the it is desired purchase. The quantity actually bought is referred to as actual purchase. Secondly, quantity demanded is always considered as a flow measure of a period of time. Thirdly, the quantity demanded will have an economic meaning only at a given prices. So demand is depend on the desire and want. Then what are the determinants of demand? The demand of a product is determined by a number of factors. Among them, some are important like price of the commodity, prices of other related commodities, income of the consumer, taste of the preferences. These are some factors which affect demand. Demand function refers to the rule that shows how the quantity demanded depends on the above these factors. The demand function is nothing but the function of price of the commodity Px, price of other related commodities Py, income of the consumer, and taste of the consumers. Dx the quantity demanded of X commodity, Px the price of the X, Py the price of the substitute goods, Pz is the price of the complement goods, M for the income, T for the taste of the consumer. If all the factors influencing the demand for a commodity X vary simultaneously, the picture would be highly complicated. Therefore, normally we allow only one of the factors to change, assuming that all the other factors as the remaining constant. Then what is the relation of the demand of these factors? Price of the commodity. Normally, higher the price of the commodity, the lower is the demand of the commodity. This is the law of demand. And the size of the consumer's income. When the increase in income of the consumer leads to an increase in the quantity demanded, the commodity is called normal good. But if an increase in to fall in the quantity demanded in the case of the inferior goods, then prices of other commodities. A consumer's demand for a commodity may also be influenced by the prices of some other commodities, such as complementary goods and substitution goods. In case of complementary goods, which are consumed along with the commodity, they are complementary goods. And demand bears inverse relations with the prices of complements and direct relation with the prices of substitutes. Then taste of consumers. If a consumer has developed a taste for a particular commodity, then he or she will demand more of that commodity. Similarly, if a consumer has changed his taste against a particular commodity, less of it will be demanded at a particular price. This development of taste may be related to seasons of the year as well. In summer, cold drinks or cold drinks demand is increased, whereas taste and whereas in case of the winter season, the demand of the woolen cloth is increased. So the taste of a consumer also affect the demand of the commodity. Then determinants of market demand. The factors determining the demand for a commodity in a market are the same as those which determine the demand for the commodity on the part of a consumer. The market demand is affected by two factors, population and income distribution. All other factors remaining unchanged. The greater is the size of the population, more of the commodity will be demanded. Then income distribution. If people in different income groups show marked differences in their preferences, so if larger share out of national income goes to the rich, demand for the luxury goods may rise, and a rise in income share of the poor will increase demand for the wage goods. So, these are some determinants of demand. Then what is the law of demand? We know that the quantity of a commodity and price has inverse relationship. That means when price is increased, quantity demanded is decreased. And when price is decreased, that time quantity demanded is increased. It gives us a demand curve that slopes downward to the right. And the we can explain this idea, the demand curve, with the help of a demand schedule. Demand schedule is nothing as the record of quantity demanded at the different prices. In the page 30, we can see the schedule, the demand schedule. Here we see that when the price is 100 in per kg, when price of apple is 100 rupees, that times the quantity demanded is 50. But as the prices increases, that time the quantity demanded is decreases in kg. Then from this we see that there is inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. The demand curve is also drawn from this demand schedule. The demand curve graphically shows the relationship between the quantity of a good that consumers are willing to buy and the price of that good. Here in the diagram, figure 2.1, we see the demand curve. In OY axis, the price is represented, and in OX axis, the quantity demanded is present. Here you see that when prices is more, the quantity is less. As prices decreases, quantity demanded increases. When we draw these points, we get demand curve, which is sloping downward to the right. And the most important feature of the demand curve is that it slopes downward from left to right. Whether a demand curve is a straight line or a curve depends on how much quantity demanded rises with the fall of its prices, or how much quantity demanded falls with the rise in the price of a commodity. If you record demand schedule of two or more consumers of a commodity on the same axis, we can get a number of demand curves. Horizontal summation of those curves gives us the market demand curve. We get the market demand curve when other consumers demand curve drawn, and when we sum them summation of those curves, we get the market demand curve. Then why does a demand curve slopes downward? There is two reasons. There is one is substitution effect, another is in three reasons. One is substitution effect. Substitution effect results from a change in the relative price of a commodity. Suppose a Pepsi can or a Coke can both are priced 90 and 20 each. If the price of Coke is raised to 25 and the price of Pepsi is not changed, there is two cold drink. One is Pepsi, another is Coke. Both prices is 20 and 20. If price of Coke is raised 25 and the price of Pepsi is not changed, Pepsi will become relatively cheaper to Coke. Then the change in the relative price of the commodity, Pepsi will become relatively cheaper to Coke. Although the absolute price of Pepsi has not changed, the relative price of Pepsi has gone down. The change in the relative price of a commodity causes substitution effect. If price, so here we see that now some consumers are shift to from Pepsi to Coke because now the Coke is much cheaper than the Pepsi. So the quantity demanded of relative costlier terms will register or decline. Then income effect. When the effect of change in total purchasing power of the money income of the consumer. As price of mango falls, the purchasing power of the given money income rises or his real income rises. Thus, he can buy more of the mangoes with the same money income. His demand for any other commodities may also rise. This is called income effect. A commodity with positive income effect is called normal goods and it shows positive or direct relationship between income and quantity demanded. In case of the negative income effect shows that inferior goods. Means in case of the inferior goods, when rise in income leads to a fall in the quantity demanded, we have all the case of that inferior goods. Then price effect. Price effect is the total sum of substitution effect and income effect. That means price effect P equal to SC plus IE. It is important to note that the substitution effect and income effect operate simultaneously with the change in the price of the commodity. Substitution effect and income effect taken together give price effect. Substitution effect always operates in a manner such that as price falls, quantity demand of this commodity increases. If along with the substitution effect we take so income effect and if that happens to be positive, the law of demand will necessarily apply. When the substitution effect is positive, that means the goods are essential goods, are necessity. When if income effect is negative, the law of demand can still apply provided the substitution effect outweighs or is more powerful than the negative income effect. Given substitution effect, if income effect is negative and it outweighs of the is more powerful than the substitution effect, the law of demand will not hold good. Then what is given? A case where negative income effect outweighs substitution effect is possible when we have Giffen good, named after Robert Giffen, who first talked of this paradox. Here, a fall in the price of a commodity does not lead to a rise in its demand. It may result in a fall in demand for this commodity. This is Giffen good. For example of Giffen good is salt. Then change in quantity demanded and change in demand. When the demand for a commodity changes because of the change in its price, it is called change in quantity demanded. On the other hand, when the changes in demand is due to the factors other than its price cause a change, it's called change in demand. quantity demanded of a commodity is called the expansion in demand if a fall in the price causes the quantity demanded to rises. If with a rise in the price of a commodity, its quantity demanded falls, we call it the contraction in demand. These can be represented in the form of movement on a demand curve, that is, change in demand, change in quantity demanded. In change in quantity demanded, on the price can be price of that particular good can be changed, other things remaining constant. Here in this diagram is the DD is the demand curve, point A. On the demand curve, we find that at price OPA and quantity is OQA. As price falls to OPC, then demand becomes OQC. The movement from point A to point C on the demand curve, DD is referred to extension of demand. And when price of a commodity rises to OPB, then demand falls to OQB. That the moment from A to B on the demand curve DD curve known as the contraction of demand. Then change in demand. Change in demand takes place when the whole demand scenario undergoes a change. This change occurs due to change in any determinant of demand. That means all the price is constant, remaining constant, but the other factors which affect the demand are changed. That time the change in demand is shown. Change in demand may take two forms: increase in demand and decrease in demand. Increase in demand takes place at a given price, higher quantity is demanded, or at a higher price, the same quantity is demanded. Decrease in demand takes place when at a given price, lower quantity is demanded, at a lower price, the same quantity is demanded. In this case, the demand curve is shift upward or downward. In change in demand, this demand curve is shift right or left. Right? The decrease in demand results in leftward shift to the demand curve, and increase in the demand shows that the rightward shift of the demand curve. Many factors can shift a demand curve. A rise in income, a rise in income of the consumer can change the demand curve, shift upward or downward. And a rise in income can increase or decrease the income, decrease the quantity demanded of the consumer. A rightward shift in the demand curve also takes place because of the increase in price of substitutes goods. If the consumer and a leftward shift in the demand curve can be because of the decrease in price of substitutes. If the consumer develops a taste for a commodity, he may demand curve more of even if the price remains unchanged, shifting the demand curve to the right. On the other hand, a leftward shift in the demand curve can indicate that a consumer has started disliking the commodity or inferior commodity. Then supply. Supply refers to the quantity of a commodity and that producers are willing to sell at different prices per unit of time. The supply has also some features. The supply of a commodity indicates the offered quantities. The supply is also with reference to the price at which the quantity is supplied. If the price is not mentioned, our statement would not carry any economic meaning. The supply is a flow. It has a time unit attached there. The supply has to be per day, week, or month. Then there is some determinants of supply. First, price of the commodity supply. The price is most immediate determinant of supply. As the price goes up, a farm or person will be willing to sell larger quantities. As the price falls, then the seller will not be willing to sell more quantities. And The second point, the prices of factors of production or cost of production. It is also important determinants of the supply. These affect the cost of production and possible profits of the farm. A rise in the prices of factors of production discourages the production and supply of the commodity. Prices of other goods. As the prices of other commodities rise, they become more attractive to produce for a profit maximizing them. Here, hence, supply of commodity which price is unchanged will decline. The state of technology, the improvement in the knowledge about the means and the methods of production lead to lower costs of production and help increasing outputs. Goals of the producer or behavior of the producer. If the objective of the producer undertakes the production, also influence his production and supply decisions. Then what is the law of supply? A producer law of supply means the producer a higher price would mean more profits. That case, the producer will supply more at a higher price. A producer will supply smaller quantity at a lower price. This is direct relationship between the price and quantity supply of the commodity. That is called law of supply. The change in price is the cause and change in the supply is the effect. The supply function is the supply of a commodity is a function of its price. The price of all other commodities, the factors of production, technology, the objectives of producers, and other factors remaining unchanged. Then supply schedule. Then a supply schedule shows quantities of a commodity that a seller is willing to supply. In this schedule, we see these things. Here, in the supply schedule, we see that when price per pen, when 2, the quantity supplied 25 per month. When price per pen increased to 3, then the quantity supplied also increased to 40. Like that. When price per pen increased to 4, then the quantity supplied increased to 50. Like that, it is a direct relationship between both the price and supply. Then supply curve. When we put these points in the diagram, we got the supply curve, which is upward sloping. The supply curve S is smooth curve drawn through the 5 points A, B, C, D, E. The curve shows the quantity of pens offered for sale at each price. The supply curve can be linear straight line or in the shape of an upward sloping curve, convex downwards. The upward slope of the supply curve indicates that higher the price, the greater the quantity will be supplied. Then some exceptional case shown in the law of supply. First, non-maximization of profit. Some cases, the enterprise may not be pursuing the goal of maximizing of profits. In that case, the quantity supplied may increase even when price does not rise. For example, if the firm wants to maximize sales, it may sell larger quantities even when the price remains unchanged. A multi-product firm may aim at maximizing total profits rather than profits from each of the line of production. So, the law of supply may not apply for each product. Factors other than price not remaining constant. If the law of supply describes that other things remaining constant, as that when price increases, then the supply also increases. But if the other factors of the then other than the price of the product may not remain constant, then the law of supply cannot be worked. For example, the quantity supplied of a commodity may fall at a given price if prices of other commodities show a tendency to rise. The change in Technology can also bring about a change in the quantity supplied of commodity, even if the price of that commodity does not undergo a change. So here then what is the like that change in supply and change in quantity of supply, change in demand and change in quantity demanded, like the change in supply versus change in quantity supplied. Change in supply. If there can be changes in the quantity offered for sale due to changes in the price of the commodity only, other factors remaining constant, then the change that is when there shows the change in quantity supplied. The change in quantity supplied can be of two types. When the price of commodity falls, its quantity supplied falls. When that is called as contraction of supply. When the price of the commodity rises, its quantity supplied also rises. That is called extension of supply. This can be shown through a diagram. In this diagram, you can see that at B, A, B on the supply curve, which is on B, which is on the contraction of supply, and the A. Then above the point B, that is contraction of supply, and the below that point, this is extension of supply. On the graph, the movement from B to A on the supply curve represents contraction of supply.
एक्सक्यूज मी मैडम मैडम
Yes,
एक्चुअली बहुत बढ़िया प्रेजेंटेशन है एक्चुअली क्लास टाइम प्राय सरी आसुची
sir.
माने थैंक यू सो मच फॉर द नाइस प्रेजेंटेशन आउ बतन पिला मान को मु कहि दोजी पिला माने तमे नेक्स्ट क्लास पर दिन हमर डे आफ्टर टुमारो एई 4 रु 5 क्लास रे मैडम पुनी आज जोटी छाडिले से सेटू कंटिन्यू करिवे
हाँ सर, ठीक, थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू मैडम नेक्स्ट जदि कार डाउट अछि पिला माने तुमे पचारियो हला रखिली मैडम जय जगन्नाथ
थैंक यू मैम थैंक यू सर।